the majority of the people we're building for, they want their escape. We're trying to get out of planned developments into the rural areas and build our dream. What's been fun for me is learning a little bit of how all that goes together, because it helps me tell the story to people when they're coming in to talk to us about what we do and how staunchly different it is.
During your inspection period or your due diligence period while you're under contract, have somebody look at it with you. You may be getting a deal on the property, but there might be a reason. It may have wetlands on the back of it that you don't know about. May still decide to buy it at the end of the day, but at least now you're more informed about, hey, the cost here is not just the dirt.
What's up, man? I'm excited to have you here on the show to just kind of talk through some of the stuff that you do, because you're in the construction world. You're just in a whole different atmosphere of what most people consider construction, but you're one of the most integral pieces to the mass production of homes coming anywhere, especially here in the upstate. I would say a large portion of them you've had some, at least know about them and seen them and had some back end. So I guess we'll kick it off, man. Just tell people who you are and your business and what you do.
Sure. So appreciate the introduction. I'm Blake Loudermilk. Been in Spartanburg my whole life. Burns graduate, still live on the District 5 side of the county right off of 290. So I've been around a while, seen all the growth that's happened in Spartanburg, Greenville, Anderson, and all the surrounding counties. And my occupation is a civil engineer. So I graduated from Clemson in 2008, and then got a master's degree in business administration in 2012. And then, so for the most part, my career has been in design as a consultant. So meaning, planning developments, whether that's commercial, industrial, residential, and then also doing the design work, civil design work, for everything below grade, so sewer, water, storm drainage, grading, all of those things, and then all the permits that exist inside of that envelope. Mostly DOT, municipalities, utility providers, all of those things. You require permits for everything that you do, land development wise. It doesn't matter the type of project. All of those permits exist for every type of development. And so, for about 2019, well, I guess it's really 2021, I only did consulting work. So it was all design work, worked for a few companies here in the upstate, and went to work on the development side, as a VP of development for a local development company. And so that's where I've gained my knowledge about what the development side is, not just the design and consulting side, but what do developers go through in order to put a project on the ground. So managing that process for about 4 years, for them, was a learning experience. Learned a lot of what not to do, which is always the case. Always. About 2 months ago, I decided that it was time for me to go out on my own and do my own engineering and design company. I've been doing some small stuff for people since about 2016, but never really done it, full time. And so anyway, just thought it was time for that. Engineering, civil engineering specifically in the upstate, all engineers are busy. Everybody's swamped with projects, new clients, because of the migration that's happened, since 2020, really.
Yeah.
Since COVID, to our area, and not just our area, but South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, the Southeast for the most part, which I know you know all too well about all that growth, in that footprint. But yeah, so right now what I'm doing is designing some residential, mostly commercial, for different clients all over the upstate, and trying to use and leverage my expertise on the development side to help them get projects on the ground. And so, in a nutshell, that's kind of who I am, where I came from, and what I'm doing now. So,
well, what's funny is you like when you hit me up and told me you went on your own. I was like, man, we got to get together and do the thing. I know. I don't want people to know. You are also a very busy engineer, designer, and all these things, right?
yeah.
And it's a good time to be in that space because you won't gotta go far. You got your car and drop 10-mile radius, and it's all you can handle.
Yep.
But what's funny for me is like the world is so small. You and I played Little League baseball together.
We did.
And then kind of went to school together. You were a year ahead of me, or I don't remember exactly.
I graduated in 93.
Yeah, I was 04. So we were knew each other. And then we ended up at the same church together. We kind of connected.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of seen what we were doing. And, you called me and you were kind of that development space. And that's something that we were trying to figure out as well. And, just the velocity of becoming a large build on your lot builder, it's kind of like eating up everything that we do, to where we still kind of romanticize about, what would it be like to do a planned community with barndominiums. But it's a whole different world.
Sure.
It is an entirely different world. Like we kind of casually met, after church one day. You shoot me a text and we talk, and I started sending you some plats of land and things, and like I told you, like, hey, something we want to do. And man, we learned a whole lot just in talking with you of like things we had no clue how that worked.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying we won't do a planned community. I think if the right storm came along, that might happen. But the majority of the people we're building for, they want their escape of, hey, we're trying to get out of planned developments into the rural areas, and build our dream. But what's been fun for me is learning a little bit of how all that goes together, in a more detailed level, because it helps me tell the story to people when they're coming in to talk to us about what we do and how staunchly different it is. I've had people on here several times to talk about, the pre-construction side, and doing a single family dwelling on 10 acres of land out in the country is vastly different than building 200 homes on 10 acres in the city. But when you go and you buy one of those planned communities, like all that's been done and calculated into the cost. And so, there's a little bit of a learning curve still for consumers when they're looking at, do we buy or we build? And, they can look at the house itself and realize like, well, we could buy an existing house always cheaper than we could build anything. We could buy new construction, or we could build our own, and there's going to be a cost gap because there's things that are happening to where you're forking the bill for 100% of the development costs on the order, versus in a neighborhood where you got these little pre-planned lot. You call them something. What are they? Something wide drive up, like the lot, like, you know what I mean? Like it's just a different.
It's a planned community, and you're exactly right. So what you miss on the build on your lot that you get in a planned community like that is economies of scale.
That's right.
So, when you got a contractor that's putting in, a mile of sewer, a mile of water, and grading, 500,000 yards worth of dirt all at one time, the cost per lot is much less.
Yes.
Than if you're doing it just on your own on 2 acres. You still got to put in the same things, if it's not sewer, it's septic, but you still got to have water. You still got to have grading done. Sometimes you have to have stormwater done depending on where you're doing it.
More and more.
Fortunately, Spartanburg's a little more friendly than others on a build on your lot scenario. Some counties are not, though. Some counties make you do the whole full, you got to do an individual lot drainage plan, and that's just what you got to do.
Yeah.
And so, but you're exactly right in that when you're going to a established neighborhood or built neighborhood to buy a home, the cost per lot is a lot less. So that's why when, we built our house on 290, 11 years ago. And, I was even surprised. about how much the site work cost to build our house. And I'm in this industry, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me. How can it cost this much just to punch a road in here, grade a little bit enough to put a foundation in, get my septic where it needs to be, and run a water line? It can't be that, but it is because of the economies of scale that you're dealing with. But yeah, absolutely. If you're buying from any of the national home builders, even the custom local home builders in the neighborhood, all of that stuff is already done. It's pre-built and built into what you're paying for the house. Whereas you're doing the build on your lot, it's a totally separate line item.
Well, and also the side of it is if you're buying the land yourself and coming to me with it, you got the deal on the land.
Right.
And if I'd have bought the land and I'd have did all that pre-work, your lot would have cost a little more. Yeah. So it's a hidden evil between, because people come to us and they're like, man, we've been looking for dirt for 5 years and we found the best deal on planet Earth, right? And we know barndominiums are affordable. We've seen it. We know how you price them. This is going to be great. And then we get out there and we talk about installing their drive and doing all the things, and now there's $50,000 into it that they weren't anticipating, and then they're like, "What? How is this possible?" And it's just surprising. So we made a big effort to shine the light on it to help people prepare for it and understand some of the difference. The whole purpose of this show is to educate people.
Sure.
Educate them. Right? You can get on the website, you can go on the social media, you can see the products. You can see client testimonials. You can see everything there is to do about it, right? Like we talk in detail about how we build and why we built and how it's different. And, what kind of IP do we have around the system we built and all these kind of different things. But it doesn't matter who you build with.
Yep.
When it comes down to the dirt work, that is the same language across all of them.
Yep.
And I think, as a whole, builders have not done a good job educating that gap. I touched on this in another episode about, we have clients come to us that are building with big, nationally recognized building your lot builders, and they're under contract, loans funded. Now granted, they're probably working through their own internal loan departments, but they show up to do work and they're like, hey, we got to do a change order. You got $70,000 worth foundation work. Now, what are you talking about? Like, I don't have $70,000 extra,
Yep.
And so then they bail out and they come to us and we're like, well, you still gonna have $70,000 worth of dirt work.
Yep.
We might come in and it'd be 68, but it's not going to be vastly different. We don't have some kind of massive, equipment that makes it cheaper.
Well, and I think the biggest thing, if it was an individual homeowner, the advice that I would, or individual property owner that's looking to do a build on your lot, the biggest advice I would give them from the development side is, during your inspection period or your due diligence period while you're under contract, have somebody look at it with you. Contact your favorite engineer, whoever that is, and just have them look at it, because there's so many, you may be getting the deal on the property, but there might be a reason. Well, it may be that the topo is 20% slope on the whole thing.
Especially if you're in this area. Because it was skipped over for a reason.
Yep, that's right. It may have wetlands on the back of it that you don't know about. Those types of things that can really inform somebody, may still decide to buy it at the end of the day. But at least now you're more informed about, hey, the cost here is not just the dirt. And I think that, to your point, that's the person that's trying to do the bill on their lot. That's where their mind is initially, is, okay, if I buy this dirt, I'm good on the dirt. Now I just got to build the house. But there's more to it than just what's above the slab, or above the crawl space or whatever.
I'm one of these. One of the first things that I sent you ever when we connected, and I kind of realized what you were doing, and I bought a piece of land in a great area. I was like, oh my God, I got a good deal on it. And I bought it and we were going to build on it. And I'd sent it to you and was like, hey, look at this. And you said delineation upstream. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. You realize it means money. And when we looked at it, now granted, I got it for a steal of a deal. But when we looked at it and where I needed to build to make it like the vision come to life was I got to go. There's a whole bunch of stuff that has to happen for me to be able to impound that stream and cross over that stream and put in this driveway and get up to that area and all these things to where all of a sudden my deal on land did not look that sweet. So good. Yeah. And so I ended up sitting on that for a couple of years and finally, sold it to a neighbor that just wanted it to hunt on, and it worked out great. But
Sure.
just again, it's just trying to educate people that there's so many variables. And here's the other side. You said the cuss word of construction, permitting.
Yeah.
And when we people don't get it. We have clients all over. We build right now, we build in more, but we have completed bills in 150 counties. And every one of them is different.
Yep.
And every one of them has a different set of rules and restrictions and what they want and what they don't want and what they'll do.
They all under the IBC, but they still all have their own.
Oh my God, there's some. We moved in Tennessee. We went up there. We had 2 houses built in 2 separate counties, and we went up there to pull permits. They said, "Oh, we don't do permits. Just go build it and have fun." You're like, "Wow, can you guys call the state of South Carolina and let them know that this is possible?" But you can't. There's nothing we can do, and so. Speaking into that, in terms of permit and why, maybe you could connect the dots here. So we talked about stormwater management, these land disturbance permits.
Yep.
There's a reason for it. Everybody's moving here. Mm-hmm. All this land is getting grabbed up. And so the county is trying to control what's going where, because if there's all this available land and you got industrial facilities going up, commercial buildings going up, and other people are buying little chunks in the middle to build houses on, that's problematic.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to put some it's a good concept. They're trying to be planning and be forward thinking
instead of proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah, but it's a pain in the butt to someone who's trying to build a dream home. But we get more pushback with homeowners because the loan's closed, they've made it through that part, right? And we're doing all 100% custom homes. We're designing these things from the ground up. They're working with our design team. They're creating their floor plan. They're coming in. They're picking all the material selections, and we're putting it to a pre-baked fixed price contract.
Yep.
And delivering it to them. And then the loan closes 60 days later. The money comes in, and then we're and we try to work on this stuff ahead.
But there's only so much you can do ahead.
Correct. Especially with a land disturbance permit, because we can sometimes if you don't have that, you can get out there and you can do some preliminary grading and kind of get the ball rolling.
Yep.
Before, actual permitting.
Or in that issue, building permit till that thing is in hand.
Correct.
Yep.
And so, but with the land disturbance and all this other stuff, connect the dots there for people, because I think that there's a knowledge gap there too. Is hey, what are you talking about? We planned this, we've done this, we've been working with y'all for 3 or 4 or 5 months. The money's in your hands. Why is nothing happening here? And we're waiting on permits, and they just don't understand it.
Right.
From your perspective, share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I think I was talking to a home builder about this yesterday. The fallacy is that every permit is like a building permit that you can get in 30 days. 45 days. And that's just not the case. So land disturbance permits are required statewide. And then every municipality has some municipalities are able to produce those permits internally if they're certified by the state of South Carolina to do so. But then other municipalities are not. It goes straight to Columbia and is processed that way. However, you cannot... No municipality will issue a building permit without a land disturbance permit, either from the county and state, or from the state if it's one of those counties that goes straight to Columbia. And unfortunately, even at the engineer's most efficient, you get comments on Monday, they're back out on Tuesday, kind of thing. Those permits are 60 to 90 days, no matter what. And that's just because every review is a 30-day timetable for the municipalities and the state, and they will take every day of that to review it.
Because they're all probably looking at 200,000 or 300,000 a month.
Well, sure, yeah. And so that process just takes that long, because if you figure, okay, an engineer takes, let's just call it a 10-lot subdivision, right? Takes an engineer, let's call it 60 days to design. He submits it to Spartanburg County. Spartanburg County got 30 days to review that initial submittal. then that engineer is going to get comments, somewhere around that 30-day mark. He's going to have to turn those back around, which typically is going to take a week, roughly. And then they get another 30 days to look at it. Then at the end of that 30 days, if there's still something outstanding, potentially they could get another 30-day review, after those comments are addressed. So that's why I say you're going to be 60 to 90 days just on the permitting process. That does not include the design work, survey, all the due diligence items, wetlands delineation, geotech report if you're doing one, all of that stuff on the very front end. So you're looking at, basically a 6 to 8 month process from the time you decide you want to develop something. And that's on the small side. You're doing a 500 lot subdivision, it's a year, every bit of it. And so, unfortunately, the smaller jobs don't take less time in permitting. They're going to take the exact amount of time because all the municipalities have the same time frame to review on something that's 2 acres versus something that's 200.
So this episode is sponsored by the Barndo Co. You can visit us online at thebarndoco.com and get started building your dream barndominium today. We specialize in build on your lot turnkey barndominium solutions. We have a whole gallery of plans that you can explore through. You can also go full custom route. You can get in touch with us through the website by filling out the contact us form, and one of our Barndo professionals will reach out to you, get your dream started today.
I think that the knowledge gap is, well, my neighbors built, they didn't have that, or my friends built, they didn't have that, or we built and we didn't have that. It's always changing. In other counties, it is like Lawrence County. Lawrence County was just nothing. And now everybody's moving there. And so they're like, no, we got to do all these things. Yeah. And so like, you get in these situations, but the difference is like sometimes like we handle this for the clients. So like they're not involved. Right? And so the goal's to educate. Sure. Why is it taking so long? I promise you, we get paid to build and be done. Right. Like we don't want it to take long. Yep. We're not dragging our feet here. We're ready to get done too. Sure. But sometimes the land disturbance piece is somebody bought a piece of property and they cut it up, and like you bought a 5 acre or 6 acre, 2 acre, 10 acre, whatever piece, and they sold a bunch of them. That's already been done. That land disturbance piece was done when they cut it up. Yep. We can apply for a building permit. That's got on its own file. Like we go in and say, hey, we're building on this lot. They go, all right, everything's checked off. You go buy 50 acres and you're like, hey, this was agricultural. It's been a cow pasture for 275 years. And now we're going to build a home on it.
There's nothing done.
Where are you building the home? Right. What's going here? Like, we got to carve this piece out, and then, they're trying to do tax exceptions and exemptions. Well, let's carve us out a little piece here where we're going to build on, and we'll keep the rest of us back here agricultural. Great. Now we've got to do plan land disturbance for this. Yep. And we fall in all the gaps. It's already been done, and it's hit and run. There you go. We run into them where it's fresh, and it was all separated, but you bought it kind of preemptively, and they haven't even processed all that yet. And so now we're trying to apply for build permits, and we're waiting on that piece to be done. And you don't ever know. Like, you have no idea what's going to come back out of that. And municipality, all different. Some that you might have running, or you got to put silt fence in. And people are, you screaming at us like, why are we putting silt fence to prevent water from running off of my property onto my other property? I'm like, because that might not always be your property. Yeah. Right. Like, and they don't know that that's your property. Like, so it's a process that has to be followed, and it's due to growth and demand. And everybody's trying to do diligence, but it handcuffs you as a builder. Sure. Sure. And as a homeowner, you're just kind of in the weeds because like we don't even we can't tell you what we're waiting on. We're waiting on permit, but I don't know
the person or whose desk or what point in the process.
Well, because we're primarily rural building. Right. We built a fair amount in Graham County, Spartanburg County, but we built a lot in the unknowns, right? The counties that people are like, I didn't even know that was a county. Yeah. Like, we're building they are not the authorized people. They're the 100%. They're sending it.
It's all the
Yep. They send it.
Yes now.
Yeah. So they're sending it all down to Columbia, and they're waiting on it to go through the process. And it just trying to educate and connect the dots and give people a better understanding of expectations, because expectations from us are, we want to start as fast as we can. We want to build as efficiently and as fast as we can. And we want to move on to the next one. Yeah. That's what we get paid to do.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, and that's the, the other side of that coin. When you're, it doesn't matter what type of development, commercial, industrial, residential, that story is still the same. You make more profit the faster you get things done. It does nobody any good for it just to sit there, right? Because most of the time you're paying, maybe not in y'all's case, but as a developer, you're paying interest on all that stuff. And so that interest tick is not insignificant these days, as everybody knows. And so but time is the essence. That is the main deal. I mean, even the dollars, the time can supersede the dollars, just because of time value of money. And so, everybody in this industry is working to do things as fast as they can. But we've had so much growth, that, we're right now, the systems are being exceeded even on the private side. Which is one of the reasons why I decided to go out on my own, is because, bandwidth for civil engineers is hard to come by, especially for anything small. And so, I think right now we don't have enough of that manpower. And of course, the municipalities don't have enough of their manpower to process them any faster either. So you get all that put together, and that's why it takes so long to get through these things. Now, changing regulations and things like that can affect that too, obviously. But, for the most part, Greenville County's process, other than a few things they've added in a couple of years, their process has not really changed. Now, their regs have changed, but their process has been, been what it is for some time now. It's just that now the other neighboring counties are catching up with those processes and procedures. And yes, it does slow down the timelines for sure. But at the same time, I imagine if you ask them, they're like, yeah, we have to protect the general public is our mandate. And so that's why we have to have these processes and procedures in place. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, everything you said is spot on. And it doesn't matter if you're commercial or industrial or whatever, it all is the same. You're all in the same boat. You're all trying to chase the same permit. It's the DHEC permit for the big million square feet industrial plant has the same language as, your clients build on your lot.
Yep.
Language.
Yep.
Not as much disturbance, obviously, but the language on the permit is the exact same.
Well, you said it best with even the private sector being overwhelmed, because I remember during the boom in 2020 and pandemic and all this stuff's going on, like, you'd apply for even a septic permit, right? And DHEC, they were like, it's 36 months.
Yep.
And then the old theory was you could hire an independent and speed that up 10, 15 days.
Right.
Not anymore.
Yep.
Like they're saturated. Like everybody's calling them. And now it's a chain reaction. So it's a good thing because it's growth and you're building in an area where everybody's coming to and there's a reason they're coming here. Like it's just part of the process. And like everybody's in the same boat, and everybody's trying to get the same mission accomplished. I just think, when a client's asking a builder, like we don't know all the details. That's why we hire people like a Blake, or we hire we go through the process and we know what they're doing, but we're not on that side of the business. So we're just like, oh, man, when the permit gets here, I promise you'll be the first phone call. Yes, you will see it live. It'll be uploaded and it'll tell you, hey, construction's starting in the morning.
Right.
But it's just a tense situation, and people building, like, it's already a tense situation because they're in between houses and there's moving and and every little detail just adds and adds and adds and adds and adds. And our whole thing is like, we want to set the best expectations as possible so that your experience matches that as close as possible. And we've gotten better at it. Our time to build has shrunk by 50% in the last 12 months. Our time to design has shrunk by over 50% in the last 6 months. And so, it's efficiencies, but it's also because we got so granular on setting clear expectations that we can deliver well ahead of what's set as an expectation. So if you come in and you give an expectation of a 12-month process and it happens in 7, you are a raving fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're told it's going to take 6, 7 months and it takes 14,
you're not a fan.
No, you are not a fan. You are a nightmare. And regardless of how wonderful it is when it's done,
the
expectations were wrong.
Correct.
And so we put so much. I say this all the time. Like we spent the first 2.5, maybe 3 years of this business perfecting the product. We've got that dialed in. Now we're perfecting the process. And so that's the element of scale that allows us to do what we do on such a big like the reason why we can go plant new territories and do new things is because the product's the same. It doesn't matter where you're building, right? You build in the mountains of Tennessee, the coast of Carolinas, or even in, the upstate of Georgia where we're trying to go next. It's the same product, but the process improvements along the way and being able to mold that to fit those different areas is where the real success came for us to be able to open it up and build. We literally have independent branches building as many homes in a year as the whole company was building a year ago. It's insane. The fourth quarter of 2024, we got more COs, right? Certificate of occupancy, in that 3-month window of time than we had gotten in the first 3 years of the business. Wow. And that's when I realized it's working. All right, we got the products dialed in. We've had that. Now the process is catching up. And so like literally quarter over quarter, that quarter will be more certificate of occupancies were awarded in that quarter than if you add them all together since the beginning of the company. And that's happened quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter, to where it just proves that like when we took a step back and dialed it in and got really clear on, okay, we break our own machine over and over again because we serviced 40 clients, and then we serviced 100, and now we're servicing 200, and now we're servicing 500. It doesn't work the same.
Correct. So volume is very different.
Yeah. So it's crazy, and the problem is they're all individual, and they're all singular, and they're all different, and like the house is different in a different county with a different set of standards, with different engineering, and different like everything is different. And so to be able to do that efficiently, man, like I praise my team. I'm telling you right now, like that, they have literally turned the impossible possible by being able to do that on a large scale, and it's fun. It's fun, man. It's fun to be able to educate people from the lessons learned along the way. Because just coming out of the gate and building if we were building traditional houses, to go in 3 years and go from building none to building 500 a year, that has its own hurdles.
Oh, yeah.
And to do it in 4 different states, and build state to like corner to corner, coast to the mountains, but to do it with a product that most of the people have never seen, insanity. Like we get flagged with everything. Like nobody knows, right? The first time we build in this county, the inspectors show up, they don't even know what to look for. They're like,
what? So what is this?
I mean, like I'll give you a primary example. We went to Berkeley County, right? We opened up our Somerville office. We get down there, we're building all over the place. We're in Berkeley County. Berkeley County comes out and they're like writing us up, filling us on framing inspections because they're like, you ain't got straps on your sill plates. And we're like, we don't need sill. Like the sill plate's doing nothing. I'm like, we literally have a giant collar buried in the concrete holding the post. The post is holding all the weight and everything here. And I don't know, every job I inspect, we got to have these straps. So what do we do? He was like, well, you can't put straps now, but you put Titans. And so we failed and had to go in, regardless of the engineering,
all of that stuff, yeah,
and put 350 Titan bolts into sill plates that are literally dead wood because they don't understand. And for us, it ain't worth the fight.
Right.
And so literally we have counties where we go in and build and we're doing things that are absolutely unnecessary just to appease them because they're in the same boat. And is there again, time, right?
Yep. The time it would take you to educate them on the engineering, get your engineer to try to educate them on why this works the way that it is. I mean, you lose a month.
Well, and they're like every other municipality. They got 5 guys and 44,000 houses.
Yeah,
and so I had to change their perspective because at first it's anger because I'm like, I spent $7,000 for this set of superstructurals so you could see what we're doing and know why we're doing it. But then the empathy piece is this guy has a salary. He's trying to do his job.
And like he's got 200 of these.
Let's just do it this week. Yeah. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And it is what it is, right? Build it into the cost. If you're building Burke County, we're going to have Titans to your house. So like,
Right, sorry. That's what we're doing.
yeah. It's not worth the fight, and we've done that over and over again. It's just, you gotta know where to push back and where to just conform.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, man, big brothers everywhere. Like they're gonna tell you what you can and can't do. We've had to relocate entire houses because DHEC will say, well, you perk in these 3 areas, but we're all going to issue a permit for this one.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so we deal with it every day, and it's frustrating because you want people to have the best experience possible.
Yeah.
And so when you have something like that you're not in control of, that deters it, I just want people to know why.
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I would say to that point is that, most people hire professional like yourself, your company, like myself, my company, to get them through that permitting process, right? And so they assume that you know everything about how to get through that process. And that's true until that process is changed, sometimes midstream.
Yes.
Or there is something that you just didn't know, and this is the first time you've ever run across it. And I think sometimes, people get frustrated because they're like, "Why? I hired TJ and his team. They should know how to build these things. They sold me that they knew how to build these things." Or, I hired Blake, and he's had all this experience in the upstate. He should know how to get through this permitting process. And that's true with a big, huge but.
Yes.
And so sometimes things just come up that you've never seen before. I mean, I've been doing this almost 20 years, and I still get things I'm like, man, that's new. Hadn't seen that before. Hadn't seen that requirement before. Never gotten that comment. Same set of, same kind of plans I've been putting into the same county for, 10 years, and they never made a comment. And now all of a sudden that's a comment. So, there's a lot of that learning that still goes on, even for the practitioners, if you will, because it does change. And, the environment is volatile to a point where, you get a lot of turnover in government agencies too. People get promoted, people get leaving, going to the private sector, whatever. And, when that happens, you get to learn that new reviewer all over again. So there is some of that I know is frustrating for clients. And frankly, it's frustrating for, somebody like me who's just like you. Speed is the name of the game, right? Accuracy and speed. And so to delay a permit process because of something you didn't know is frustrating for me too. But there's not a thing I can do about it except address the comment, try to come up with a solution with that municipality or government agency, whoever it is, in the most efficient time possible. And that's what I get paid for. But sometimes that's a phone call in 2 hours, but sometimes that's a month, to get through whatever it is. So, it just depends. And, as the growth continues, that's something that, will get a little bit better, but will always be there. So, I think that's part of the education process for clients too, is it's not always in our control like you would think. And unfortunately, you can't always go to that reviewer's boss and say this is ridiculous, because unfortunately that might slow the process down, not make it any better.
Yeah.
And so it's just the design and engineering and construction world that we live in. And I think that one of the biggest things is, for a long time, the Southeast, specifically South Carolina, was immune to a lot of that. Now that we've had the growth, we're now catching up with what other states and municipalities that had development 20 years ago already experienced.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so new to us, because we're not used to, all the regulation of the last 15 years that's happened. And especially all the changes over the last, say 3 years, definitely since COVID. in the way of things permitted, what's allowed, what's not allowed. All of that has changed in the last 5 years for most all the counties, and that's just something we have to deal with, and we have to evolve to. Unfortunately, as engineers, as builders, contractors, site contractors too. There's more rules on them than there used to be.
Yep.
More eyes on them than there used to be. And then one thing I did want to touch on, and I forgot, was you talked about silt fence and the need for silt fence and all those things. So one thing that I think is missed on a lot of projects, not so much on the commercial, industrial, and tract home developments because they're used to it, but definitely for an individual or a one-time guy that's building his office for his business, those types of things, is it's not, yes, it's about stormwater runoff, but it's also about sediment runoff. And that's what the silt fence, the ponds, the swales, the construction entrances, all of those things are designed. They're standard details, but they're designed to aid so that we're not continually polluting our streams and waterways with sediment. And that may say, oh, it's just dirt, right? But I go to Lake Hartwell, there's dirt all in the bottom of Lake Hartwell, right? But what happens over time is as that sediment creeps into your streams, then those get into those water bodies, and it does pollute, and it does introduce new things from all over the state, that eventually all go to that one big water body. And that's where you see, some lakes have the big algae plumes, from time to time. Things like that, not fish kills anymore. You don't see as much of that because the industrial has been tightened up over the last, 30 years. But that's what all that is meant to stop, or at least prevent as much as possible. So when you see that stuff, you're like, oh, what's this little silt fence with some wire on the back of it really doing? But if you get a big rain event and you got a construction site that's wide open with no grass on it, you'll see all that dirt that gets caught by that silt fence at the back of your site. But that's what it's intended to do. And that's why the counties, all the municipalities are so intent on making sure inspections of those BMPs, what they call best management practices, are done regularly, so that you don't have that. Because what happens is, if you do have a major discharge to a stream or wetland or lake, then the state agencies can shut your job down, number one, but also levy some pretty big fines on you if that happens. So that's why that stuff is so important. And then not only will the state be involved, but they will also shame the municipality for not doing regular enough inspections to catch it. So it's a trickle down effect for all of that.
Well, you got to think about it like this: is a lot of people live in their own world as the main character, right? And you're worried about your one life. How's this making an impact? But the fact is, there's 40,000 of these happening simultaneously.
That's right.
So it's a compound effect, and it does have a purpose. And this has been great, man. Like, I feel like you shed some really good insight and light on things that people don't understand in the process, including myself. Like, I don't know all the details of that. That's why I wanted to get you on here to talk about it. I'm excited for you, man. I know you're gonna crush it, and work for yourself. You're phenomenal at what you do. And I appreciate you coming on here and just shedding some light on some of the unseen parts of why is this doing? Why are we doing this? This has nothing to do with my home, but it does, because it's all part of the collective system.
That's right.
That we don't have any influence on.
That's right.
We have to conform to.
That's great.
And so, man, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. Enjoyed it.